What's up, Dragon Brood? We're going to talk about some underperforming cards in Edge of Eternities, at least from what we've seen early, from stuff we've tested, from stuff we've searched around online, talking to local stores. We've done a little bit of research to put this list together. Also, don't forget there are two other videos this season that accompany this one. We have one for the overperformers and things you probably do want to craft, so you want to check that out. But tomorrow we're also launching a new video that we haven't done before, talking about old cards that have gotten better because of the new set Edge of Eternities. So lots of stuff to look forward to. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all the stuff. Especially hit the like button. Let YouTube know you like these types of videos so it'll recommend the other one when it goes live. But for now, let's talk about underperforming cards from Edge of Eternities. Memorial Vault, 3 in a red. It's an artifact. You can tap it to sacrifice another artifact. Exile the top X card of your library, where X is 1 plus the mana value of the sacrificed artifact. You may play those cards this turn. Let me say this. This is probably the one we had the smallest sample size on. I believe I only found 4 different people who had tried playing with it. And honestly, every time I saw it in play, it was just a big dumb card, right? And kind of what we thought it was going to be. The reason is, one, it costs 4 mana, so it's already a little bit slow, and it doesn't do anything on its own, right? You still have to sacrifice something else. But when you do, it's usually going to be a token. So you're kind of just tapping this, sacrificing a token to look at one more card. Granted, you can do this at instant speeds. You can maybe sacrifice something that's blocking during combat. However, you can only play the cards that turn, not even until like the next turn's end step or anything like that. So it's just asking for a lot and giving very little in return. Maybe there's a world where like you're sacking some 4 or 5 mana thing to dig pretty deep for something and there's a pseudo combo there. But at least right now, of the people I saw playing with it, not anything real positive came from it. And sometimes they didn't even really activate it. It just kind of sat there sort of dirtling around waiting for something. So like, yeah, not a fan of this card. I would say stay away from this. There's just better ways to look at extra cards right now that you can just get access to immediately without having to give up anything on your board and not wasting 4 mana. Devastating Onslaught is next up. It's XX in red. It's a sorcery. Create X tokens that are copies of target artifact or creature you control. Those tokens gain haste until end of turn. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next turn's end step. This is a card that I think will, at some point, make an appearance during the season and will have a deck list that uses it. However, right now, I think we're all kind of just experimenting with it and we don't know the best thing to do with it. Ultimately, it's probably in some type of rampy type deck or some, I don't know, Smuggler Surprise style deck where you can just get a lot of mana and even having 1 or 2 things on the battlefield can lead to a win. So maybe that's a thing, but I don't know if that's what we want to be doing right now. At least not yet, till we figure out what the right thing is. So this is one where, like, even in the super big ramp decks, we could still do stuff like Doppelgang, which is better because you can just target whatever you want. It could be enchantments, lands, whatever, right? So there is that element of it, that there are other cards that kind of do the same thing a little bit better, though it does cost more to Doppelgang, so, you know, 6 one way, half a dozen another, as they say. However, keep your eye on this card, and at some point in the future, I think there will be a deck that works great for this, but right now, I think I would hold off on it till we see the best use of it. Again, not one that I would say is just bad, but so far it's kind of been somewhat pedestrian, slightly underperforming, and I think you can wait on this, even though the payoff appears to be very big on this card once we figure it out. Okay, I'm going to be real with y'all. If I just said no one moved on, how many of y'all would be mad? Just let me know in the comments. But for the sake of those that don't know, I will actually explain. The Dominion Bracelet, it's a 2 mana equipment that equips for 1, mind you. And it even gives the creature +1/+1. This is where it gets bad, though. The creature also gains 15, yes, 1/5, sacrifice the, or exile the bracelet, not even sacrifice it. You control target opponent during their turn. This ability costs X less to activate, where X is the creature's power. Activate only as a sorcery. This has everything on it to be as safe as possible, right? It's on an equipment, so you have to have a creature. It has a 15 cost activation, with realistically, maybe you get it down to like, I don't know, 8 that you have to pay, and you have to sacrifice it as a sorcery. So, or not even sacrifice, you have to exile it. So you don't even get to use it out of your graveyard or anything, no shenanigans, right? Which is fine. That's what you want on a card like this, because it has the words, you gain control of the opponent for their next turn. That said, though, even if you got this to pop off, your opponent would have to have a situation where you taking control of the turn can cripple them so you can win the next turn. If not, you're kind of just spending a lot of resources to just cost them a couple of things, probably. I don't know. It's like generally, I'm not a fan of these types of abilities anyway. I'm glad they put it on a super safe card. But yeah, in current Magic, there's so many better things you can do other than trying to waste time on this to just steal the opponent's turn one time. Just totally not feeling this one. I only saw a few people try to make this work, and it was abysmal as we expected. Even if you're playing an artifact deck, if you're playing a equipment deck, you're probably still not even looking at this card. It's just other things that are way more efficient and give you way more. It's just not worth it. Just don't waste any resources on this thing. This one's one I'm putting on the list, and I am openly admitting that I could be totally wrong on this card. However, even when I saw other people playing with this, I maybe saw the actual activation on Rust Harvester go off like 3 times. But it's a red mana for a 1/1 Menace robot. You can pay 2, tap it, exile an artifact from your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, then it deals damage equal to its power to any target. This is one of those cards where even as a 1/1 Menace creature, you're like, okay, it's fine. What else does it do? And it's like, oh, okay, some incidental damage seems pretty good. I think what we ran into, though, most of the time is you rarely wanted to spend the 2 mana just to put a counter on this and deal like 2 to something or 3 to something, down the road. And it's a combination of one, there's going to be a lot of stuff targeting graveyard, so you may not even have that many things to get with it. It's also a pretty small creature, but it's also trying to be aggressive. But how many aggressive situations do you want to leave 2 mana up just to maybe block and kill something? I don't know. It's not a bad card, but I don't think we figured out, again, the best thing to do with it yet. We've kind of just been shoving it in lists that are playing red and happen to care about artifacts, which on some level maybe is good enough. But I haven't seen enough for this for me to say, like, yes, go craft this card. Granted, I will openly admit, of everything on this list, this is probably the safest one to craft, and you're not going to totally regret it. I'm just saying right now, I don't know if we found a way to maximize its benefit, or even found a deck that we would say is high enough tier to justify using the resources on it. Infinite Guideline Station. It's Wooburg, so all 5 colors for a spacecraft that when it enters, you create a tap 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token for each multicolor permanent you control. Then, if you get to 12 station, it has flying, and whenever it attacks, you draw a card for each multicolored permanent you control. It is a 7/15 at that point. The stats on this are huge and look really good for being able to play all 5 colors, but you have 2 problems. One, it already needs all 5 colors, so that's kind of whatever. But then beyond that, you need a bunch of multicolor things, and generally, if you're trying to get all 5 colors, you're not playing that many multicolor things. So the most popular way we saw this used, and I also attempted it myself, was with Leyline of the Guild Pack, to give everything every color, and then all your lands produce each color. The downside of that was also discovering that, okay, if you don't have the Leyline out, it's just kind of a junky card, because you're playing this spaceship to make like 2 or 3 things at best, and then you attack and hope to get some value out of this. It's just not great. Even the fact that the robots themselves are colorless, so you have to have an outside source to make those multicolor to take advantage of this. I'm just happy this isn't a mythic, because I'd be upset to open this one, but as a rare, it's fine. I get why it's in here. Maybe down the road somebody will figure out something cool to do with this, but it's kind of like the dragon card from Tarkir where you put a bunch of counters on things and try to win the game. It's a lot of work to get the result at the end that you're looking for on this one. Regos, Deaf Gastronaut. It's a red and a white for a 2/2. Artifacts you control are food in addition to their other types. So they have the pay 2, sacrifice, gain 3. You can pay 1 and tap this guy, sacrifice food. It deals 3 damage to each opponent. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, untap Regos. So there's a few things I noticed about this one playing with. The first off is its ability doesn't actually work with itself. It's not if you sacrificed a food you get to untap it, as if you've gained life. So you would have to have something you could sacrifice food-wise to deal damage, but also some way to gain life to be able to untap it to take advantage of it. It is also only a 2/2, and that's fine for the ability it brings to the table. And being able to turn your other artifacts into food is kind of nice if you're playing something like weapons manufacturing or something. So that's cool. But the card just didn't really function the way I wanted it to. I mean, even playing with it, it just felt like it was interesting, right? Because even when I was streaming with it, chat was really excited and wanted to see this card. Then we got it into play, and I kind of just felt like it was just a dude. You never really want to block with it because you really want its abilities. So there's that thing. But then are you also leaving 3 mana up a turn so you can sack a food and sack a food for 2 different reasons to be able to untap this thing and maybe do it again next turn, right? I don't know. There's probably a way that you like playing this thing. I also wish that the 3 damage could be dealt to a target. If I could use the 3 damage to target a creature, great, but it's only at an opponent. So, like, yeah, I don't know. Neat idea, but I don't know if this is even a card for standard. There's probably some world in, I don't know, Pioneer or Commander where you're playing maybe a Hobbit food deck or something, and this has real value. But in standard, I don't know if this is going to make an impact. So for now, I would back off this one. Hey, quick mid-video reminder, if you haven't hit the like button and subscribed yet, you should, to make sure you don't miss the other related videos to this. But also, you should probably consider checking out merch. You can get a sweet shirt like this one, because I'm your Huckleberry, and we say that a lot on the channel. But that being said, there's a lot of cool stuff to check out if you want stickers, buttons, mugs, whatever. But, more Edge of Eternities cards. Okay, this one might get me some heat, but Eelli Reclaimer. It's a 3 white, so it's a 5/4 Angel Warrior with flying. When this creature enters, return target non-creature, non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast this creature. It has warp of 2 and a white. Here's the thing on this card. It's not bad, but I think people failed to realize that being able to return a non-creature, non-land card does limit the use of this. If it was return a creature, high marks shoots way up the ladder, but it doesn't. And I saw people trying to play it in things like Caretaker's Talents decks and whatever, but you can also just play the other talent that just lets you get to the next, or the 3rd chapter, or whatever, 3rd level, and then just return something from the graveyard to the battlefield. Like, you don't even need this. Like, you don't have to play a creature to get that value. That being said, it could give you that value twice, because you warp for 3, get back a thing. Your Caretaker's Talent only costs 3, so it works perfectly. But there weren't a lot of decks I could see where you wanted this. Like, there might be a world where there's some creature deck, angel deck that also plays a handful of non-creatures that you want to get back, but I don't even know what that would look like right now. So while the artwork on this is super sweet, and the ability is actually useful, I think we need to wait on this one to see what deck it goes into, because right now, I'm not totally sold on it. There is a world, though, I will say, where if you mill a bunch of stuff, and then you just play this for 5, you do get the option of getting a lot of things back that cost 5 or less that are in your graveyard if your deck's built right. So there's probably a world for this. I just don't think we've seen the best build for it right now, and I would probably not experiment with this card. I'd let other people figure it out. Entropic Battlecruiser, 3 and a black, for a spacecraft that has station of 1 and 8. At station 1, whenever an opponent discards a card, they lose 3 life. At station 8, it gains flying. Death Touch becomes a 3/10 with the ability of whenever this spacecraft attacks, each opponent discards a card. Each opponent who can't loses 3 life. This, as a southern phrase goes, it's all hat, no cattle. You know, it has a lot of cool words. It has all the things you want. It even has the very, very low station cost of 1. But where does it really fit even in the discard decks? The reason I say this is there's already a bunch of stuff that punishes your opponent for not having cards in hand. Or if they were to play a card, this thing happens. And a bunch of those things cost 2 or 3 mana. And do you really need to worry about stationing this up? Do you want to take turn 4 off and give your opponent a chance to keep a card in their hand or cast something they otherwise wouldn't? Like, probably not, I wouldn't imagine. I mean, you could probably get away with playing a couple of these. Just from what I saw, they were never really necessary. It's kind of like winning when you're already ahead for the most part. Wasn't really exciting to see this one in action. Kind of a little bit disappointing because I figured, you know, people who like discard decks, hey, here's a cool option for you. Maybe in weird future standard, 2 years from now, it might be a thing as some other cards rotate. But for now, if you're playing discard decks and that's your jam, I would probably steer clear of this one. Ethereal Stonechosen, 3 black for a 3/3 human cleric. It has Ward of discard a card at random, and has Void whenever this attacks if a non-land permanent left the battlefield or something was warped. Defending player loses half their life rounded up. Now, of course, this can work well in those decks that are already worried about the opponent losing half their life with stuff like Bloodletter of Aclazot and whatnot to end the game. However, to make that happen is a bit convoluted, right? Because you have to have Ethereal on turn 5, so it can actually be ready to attack on turn 6. And then you also need the Bloodletter on turn 6, which means both of these had to have lived, but then also you need to have been able to kill something or warp something on turn 6 when you attack with this, so its ability triggers. Otherwise, it's just a 3/3 Knucklehead doing absolutely nothing when it attacks. It's just a lot to get to this ability. One, I think we have enough of this gain life, lose life, half life, whatever abilities in black. We don't need more. That being said, it's 5 mana for a 3/3. Like, considering you get the same ability if you connect on a Stalker, right? Or Slasher, I should say. Like, it's a 2/3. Of course, it has to deal damage, but it's also hard to kill. It has Death Touch, right? You're getting so much more value on the 3 than you are at 5. So, I don't know where this card's gonna live. I mean, maybe there's a world where you can trick it into play, or you somehow give it warp. Maybe then it's more viable, but it's costed in just the right way to be safe and not be insane. But I don't think I'm touching this card for quite a bit. Cosmogoyf, black and a green for an X and 1/X. Elemental Lurgoyf, this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in exile, and its toughness equal to that number +1. Here's the thing on this card. Even on stream, I had people want me to play it, and I was like, I don't see how this card's good. And so far, everybody I've seen play with it, it looked like it either didn't do a whole lot, because it's just a big dumb knucklehead, or it was the type of card that even after they were done, they said, you know, I don't know if this is the card that needs to be in the deck. Now, I did see one fun use of it that Legend VD played, where he was playing it in the Dimir deck that just cares about playing the demon, that exiles like all but the last 6 cards of your library, and then just tries to kill you with like milling you out for the last few cards. Now, that can take advantage of a Cosmogoyf, but even in that deck, all it is trying to do is get the demon and then mill you. And there's a million ways to still mill your last 6 cards. Like, the deck just doesn't need a Cosmogoyf. There's better creatures you could play if you really wanted to play stuff for 2 or 3 mana leading up to that situation. So I don't really know where this goes, honestly. And it's still easier to just put stuff in your graveyard than it is to get a bunch of stuff exiled. So I'm not really feeling this one. I think people got excited about it because it basically said Termagoyf on it. But we have other versions of this card that are just better, right? We have like Souls of the Lost and things like that. I mean, we have the one that has an adventure that you can mill and then, you know, counts both graveyards, right? We just don't need a Cosmogoyf. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it shows up somewhere and has a big list, but so far, every time I could find somebody playing it, it didn't look that impressive, or it wasn't that much more impressive than some other just big body creature you could have. So, like, I don't know. But yeah, this is another one. I would wait till you see a definitive deck with it that you really like before you go just risking building a deck with it. Because I even saw it put into Ketramos where they were splashing green to try to take advantage of this. And even there, it was just kind of okay. Yeah, one thing I would like to know from y'all is, were there cards that you expected to see that you didn't get to see, at least people talking about or in the streamer event or whatever here in this first week since we've finally got to mess with the cards? Because that would also be interesting. But yeah, let me know if you like this type of video. Again, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button to make sure you don't miss our video on old cards that are also good now that we have Edge of Eternities. But yeah, if you want extra videos, you want extra private deck help, be sure to become a member down below. Otherwise, just watch another video and watch it all the way through because it's always free and it always helps. That's all I have for now. We'll see you next time.